mean, I always knew Esther was amazing, but I think working with her seals that, because you sort of, she has an ability to keep 100 balls in the air and know which one is about to hit the ground and pick that up. And that's a talent that if you do especially the kind of work we do, it takes a lot of attention to detail, and she has amazing capacity to attend to detail.
I've learned any number of things, too long to enumerate, but maybe the most important thing that I'm learning from him is you have to keep sight of what is the end of the journey and not just what are the various stops you're going to have to travel through. It's not enough to keep the train running on time. You also have to think about where it is you want them to go, and sometimes be willing to change course, even starting from the most carefully organized plan. Actually, what we are learning as it goes is that we should really completely change strategy or redoing. It could be redoing the design of an experiment, adding questions to a survey, entirely rewriting a chapter of a book we are writing, where I tend to find this flustering because it goes against my desire to get things done in an orderly fashion. And I've learned to let go.
Efficient, organized, positive, friendly, acute.
Generous, smart, although that's a slight understatement. Creative. Excellent cook. And fun.
She's just an amazing person. So that trumps everything. There's, even if there were no other advantages, I think being with someone you can look up to is always great. And then I think it means that, we get to sort of talk about, it's not that we talk about work all the time. I would say fairly little, actually, given that we have young children. It's not the dinner table conversation, certainly. But when we want to, we can talk. The language barriers, or you don't have to be careful. You can just say things the way you want to say it. You can say it bluntly. So it's sort of, there is a way in which communication is very efficient.
It's really tightly integrated. So it's not that we write like a chapter each or something like that. We start when we write. So it's a bit different when we write a paper and when we write a book chapter. So what I'm going to describe now is the process of writing a book chapter. We start by having long conversations about what we want to put in the chapter, what is going to be the arc of the entire thing. So sometimes we go on a walk, or we try to kind of shut down other distraction in another way, and we have a long chat. And then often it's not always the case. So one of us will put together a first draft that's very rough draft. Often that's me, but it's not necessarily true. But that's a very rough draft that sort of is faithful to that description. And then the other will take that rough draft and kind of play with it, move the things around and rearrange it. And then often and then the first person does that once more. And then by that time, maybe we are happy with how it looks as a structure. And then Abhijit takes it and improves the writing sentence by sentence by sentence to make it sound nice. That's how I would describe the process. So the result of it is something that is really has the two of us completely integrated, and none of us are very possessive about what we have written, at least with the other. So we don't even use track changes or anything. We just, whoever has the ownership of the text changes whichever they want, which way they want.
I think very important, family is very important for being a good researcher, because I think it's easy to get obsessive about things, and family is a good distraction. It's an excellent distraction. So I think not getting obsessive, knowing when to kind of say that, look, there's no point trying to refine everything until the ultimate wrinkle, and there's lots to life beyond that. I think that makes for good judgment. Otherwise, I think we are trained to be obsessive, and I feel that we are a lot less obsessive as a result of having many distractions.
The most important thing that they can do is to get out and get experience in developing countries in some way, shape, or form. Volunteer in an NGO, find a place in a research project, even just travel the world with a backpack. Because I don't think, from my own experience, I don't think you can even try to start to really understand how people live their lives in developing countries and the problems, but also the opportunities and the beauty that exists without having seen it, and not for 5 minutes, but by living it in some form or another. So that would be my number one advice.
And I would say, don't be afraid of forming your own conclusions. I think it's very easy to sort of get trapped into the language of this particular theory or that particular theory. I think maybe one of the things I've benefited most from my life is that I really like and enjoy theory, and I like being able to place myself outside it. I feel I'm not trapped by existing body of theory. Of course, to some extent you always are, but to the extent that you can, keep thinking. Don't accept easy labels and answers. He's an old friend to both of us. I met him in 1992, when he was a PhD student at Harvard and was teaching at Harvard. And we've been friends since then, and he was a colleague at MIT, and my first randomized controlled trial I did with Michael in Udaipur in India, and I've learned lots from him. He's a quite unique product. It's hard to describe someone. You couldn't make him up. I mean, he has such flashes of brilliance and his own way of thinking about things, and sometimes it's confusing, but it's always in the end very rewarding to go along for the ride with him.
Brilliant, disorganized, kind, creative, but that's an understatement. Like just visionary is probably a better version of that. And incredibly generous. We were not waiting by the phone for this to happen, so we were peacefully sleeping. And when we got a call a little bit before 5 a.m. in the morning, and first wondering like who can call us at this time, and then hearing this is an important call from Sweden, and they're starting to think, that must be what this is, and not quite believing at the same time. And the phone call was to me initially, so they are calling to tell you that you've been awarded the Nobel Prize in Economics, and my first answer was, with whom? And they said, with Michael Kremer and Abhijit Banerjee. And I said, oh, you know Abhijit Banerjee is my husband? And he said, yes, we know. I'll give him the phone. And I gave him the phone, and then we put it on speakerphone, and we fumbled with the speakerphone and hung up on them a couple of times.
My reaction was, oh my God. But I mean, I think it's more that it was, you know, it's 5 a.m. I'm really not awake. So things don't penetrate very much.
They told me very helpfully, I think now you should get yourself a cup of tea and start to gather your thought, because in 45 minutes you have to do a press conference. So then Abhijit said, I'm going back to sleep. And I said, we can't go back to sleep. And he said, this is going to be a long day. And as it turns out, it's been a long month. So I now see the wisdom of that position.
I think whatever this prize was for is not just a prize for us and our work. It's a prize for a whole movement of people who have done just amazing stuff. And in some ways, we are the beneficiary of all these people's creativity. And I so feel that comes with us. And it's one of the things we both take pride in and we have greatly benefited from.
We've been saying that from, I think, the very first press conference, that we understand this prize to be a prize for a movement rather than for any of the three of us. And I think we can include Michael in this global we, both as also a contributor to creating this ecosystem and as very much having the same sentiment. I think one thing that maybe characterizes all three of us, if you wanted one word for all three of us, is that we really care about creating the possibility for a large number of people to do this work, because we think that it is better to ask well-defined questions to understand how the poor people really live their lives, that there is not going to be one silver bullet, there is going to be any number of silver pellets, is the word that Abhijit uses often. But if you're going this way, it means that there is going to be so many little silver pellets that you have to look for, that it's not three people who are ever going to do that. It has to be a community. And I think this prize recognizes the success of this community. And what we're hoping is that it can, in turn, be leveraged in a way that helps this community to grow even bigger.